Hello, and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the 6th grade concept of fractions and percents, specifically how we can represent benchmark fractions and percents on number lines, and we'll do it in 5 minutes or less. So we've got 3% over here, and I want to represent them on these two different number lines. Let's look at this top one here. This number line, we want to count the number of tick marks. Just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that last one is going to be 6. So there's 6 tick marks, which means that's my denominator out of sixths. And I can use this top one to represent the 66 and 2/3% and the 50%. It's going to be a little bit more helpful, though, if we know what those look like as fractions. So in 6th grade, we look at benchmark fractions. Let's look at that first one. We should know that 1/3, if I want to look at that as a decimal, it's 0.33333 forever, or 0.3 repeating. And as a percent, it's 33 1/3%. Now that helps us because that's 1/3. If I wanted to do 2/3, we would just double that. 0.6 repeating. And that's going to be 66, and not 1/3, but 2/3%. So really, the 66 and 2/3% is looking like 2/3. Now, even that doesn't all the way help us because I don't see 2/3 on that number line. But what we could do is we can do two things. One, we can simplify some of these fractions, and we can say, okay, so that 2/6, those are both even. I can divide by 2. That's going to equal 1/3. And then this 4/6, both even. I can divide by 2, right? And that's going to be 2/3. So my 2/3 lives right there. Or I can just kind of zoom out a little bit and just realize, you know what? I can break this up into 3 big sections, kind of ignore every other one. And that's going to be my 1/3, my 2/3, and then that would be my 3/3. So if I wanted to, I could put right there 66 and 2/3%. And it would go right there. Now, if I wanted to do the 50%, we need to also think of another benchmark fraction. That's going to be 1/2 equals 5/10, 0.5 equals 50%. So this is equal to 1/2. Once again, I don't see 1/2 on there, but I do see that I can simplify fractions if I wanted to do it that way. 3 and 6 can both be divided by 3. So that's going to be 1/2 right there. Or I could just zoom out even more and say, you know what? This is just going to be 1 big half, and that's going to be another big half. Those are equal portions. So I could put my 50% right here. So that's how I would put both of those percents on that top number line. If I want to look at this bottom number line, I can also put the 50% there, but I can also look at that new percent, 75%. Now let's put this 50% on there. If I want to number these, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's going to be 8, which means these are all 8s. So if I wanted to just write my denominator as 8, you notice these two number lines are lined up. They are each the same distance apart, and the 0 and the 0 and the 1 and the 1 are lined up, which means if this is 1/2, this is just going to go straight down here, and this is also going to be 1/2, or 50%. And 4/8 can be simplified or reduced because you can divide the top and bottom by 4. So that's pretty easy because we already had that. Let's look at that 75%. Well, another benchmark fraction we look at is 1/4. So 1/4 is like a quarter, which is worth 25 cents, 0.25. It's 25%. Now we've already done the 1/2 right there, but 3/4 is going to be triple that. How much is 3/4? 75 cents, 0.75, or 75%. So this is 3/4, or 3/4. Where does it live on here? Because these are all eighths. Well, let's simplify some of these. I divide by 2, that's going to be 1/4. And if I divide by 2 over 2, that's going to be 3/4. So if I were to break this up into 4 sections rather than 8, my 3/4, or my 75%, would go right there.